23, EMS 9. Agent 23, Rescue 23, EMS 9, all on radio. Respond to the drowning. Across the Surfview Drive.
That was the chilling 911 call made by Matthew Perry's live-in personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, after he found Perry laying face down in his jacuzzi at around 4 p.m. on the 28th of October 2023. The call that has many parts bleeped out mentions drowning. Matthew Perry is known worldwide for his role as Chandler Bing in the award-winning American television sitcom Friends, which is one of the most successful and highest-grossing television shows of all time, having grossed an estimated $1.4 billion since its debut in 1994. At its peak, Perry and his co-stars Jennifer Aniston, Courteney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer were earning $1 million per episode. However, unbeknownst to his adoring fans, Perry had been an alcoholic since the age of 14 and later became addicted to painkillers following a jet ski accident. Throughout his life, he struggled with addiction, going in and out of rehab in an effort to overcome his demons, and although he tried not to drink while filming Friends, he often showed up to work with a severe hangover. His castmates attempted to help him, but their efforts were in vain, and in 2018, Perry nearly died due to a gastrointestinal perforation caused by opioid abuse. However, by 2023, those close to him believed he had finally got sober and was off the hard drugs. In the months leading up to his death, Perry was receiving legitimate ketamine treatments for depression, a practice that is becoming increasingly common for off-label use. However, he started seeking more ketamine than his regular doctor was willing to prescribe, and sought out Dr. Salvador Plasencia. Plasencia was happy to administer the drug, but began to exploit Perry by charging him increasing amounts for ketamine. He also instructed Kenneth Iwamasa, who had no medical training whatsoever, on how to administer ketamine injections to Perry. His addiction had taken hold again, and in October 2023, Perry was asking for more and more doses of ketamine, and Iwamasa was happy to source it for him. On October the 4th, Iwamasa administered an injection to Perry for the first time. However, during his practice session, Iwamasa depleted the supply of the drug and requested more from Plasencia, who referred him to Dr. Mark Chavez, recommending that he could supply the drug and become Perry's primary source. At this point, Perry was requesting more drugs every 2 days, and Plasencia and Chavez were happy to oblige at the inflated prices he was willing to pay. In fact, Dr. Plasencia reflected on the potential profit he could make alongside Dr. Mark Chavez and texted him saying, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." To which he replied, "Let's find out." In total, the pair supplied Perry with 22 vials of ketamine and ketamine lozenges obtained through a fraudulent prescription for which Perry paid tens of thousands of pounds. On October the 10th, Iwamasa drove Perry to a public parking lot in Long Beach where they met with Plasencia. Plasencia sold them more ketamine and administered an injection to Perry while he was seated in the car. On the same day, Iwamasa reached out to Eric Fleming, an acquaintance of Perry, to seek an additional supply of the drug. Fleming mentioned that he could acquire ketamine from a woman he knew named Jasveen Sangha, who was known to her customers as the Ketamine Queen. On October the 12th, Plasencia injected Perry at his house, and the actor immediately froze up and his blood pressure spiked. The slightly panicked Plasencia told Iwamasa, "Let's not do that again." Not heeding the doctor's warning, Perry got a sample of Sangha's ketamine and tried it. He subsequently ordered 25 vials of it from her, for which he would pay $5,500. The drug was dropped off at his house the next day. On October 20th, Perry saw his regular doctor and received his last legal ketamine treatment. His doctor believed Perry was doing well and no longer needed so many treatments. He was unaware Perry was taking additional ketamine in between his prescribed doses. October 25th, Iwamasa asked Fleming for another 25 vials of ketamine from Sangha. At this point, Iwamasa was giving Perry at least 6 shots of the drug per day. October 27th, Dr. Plasencia, apparently unconcerned about Perry's adverse reaction to ketamine last time he saw him, contacted Iwamasa asking if he wanted more ketamine, telling him he had been stocking up and had plenty to sell to Perry. The final day. At around 8:30 a.m. on October the 28th, 2023, Perry received an injection from Sanger's ketamine from Iwamasa. A couple of hours later, Perry seemed in good spirits and played pickleball. At 12:45, Iwamasa gave Perry his second shot of the day, and the actor sat and watched a movie. Shortly before 1:30 p.m, Iwamasa gave Perry a third shot while Perry sat in his backyard. He allegedly said to his assistant, "Shoot me up with a big one." Iwamasa then prepared the jacuzzi at the request of his boss. He then left to run some errands. Sometime after, whilst alone in his Los Angeles home, Matthew fell unconscious and slid down into the water of his jacuzzi. Around 4 p.m, Iwamasa returned home to find Perry face down in the jacuzzi. He jumped in, pulled him to the steps and called 911. Paramedics arrived minutes later and declared Perry dead. The unexpected death of Matthew Perry at the age of just 54 prompted tributes from some of the biggest stars in the world. The public mourned a man they had never met but felt an affinity with as Chandler from Friends. Post-mortem blood tests showed elevated levels of ketamine that could have suppressed Perry's breathing, and although buprenorphine was present at therapeutic levels, it may have further complicated his respiratory function. The combination of these drugs, along with his existing coronary issues, posed significant risks to his life. Perry had such high levels of ketamine in his system that it could function as general anesthesia, typically used for surgery. These ketamine levels would also impair his ability to stay afloat in the pool. Perry likely spent his final minutes struggling to breathe before falling unconscious and drowning as he slipped beneath the water. There is no doubt his addiction was fueled by doctors and other individuals willing to supply large amounts of unregulated drugs simply for their own financial gain. Perry was said to have paid Placencia at least $55,000 in the month before he died, as he preyed on Perry's out-of-control addiction to ketamine. In the aftermath of his death, 5 people were charged in connection with Perry's death, including his live-in personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, Dr. Salvador Placencia, his friend Eric Fleming, and Dr. Chavez and Jasveen Sanger. Perry was worth an estimated $120 million, but his life and death demonstrate that money does not guarantee happiness, and in Perry's case, his wealth played a role in his demise.